How do I win every game in Season 11? Well, that would be the dream. Well, lucky for you, this video is exactly what you need. Now, I hope you're all having a great day. I'm Coach Eagz, back at it, and I am very excited to bring you this one. Now, in just the next 10 minutes or so, you will have all the information and knowledge you need to hard carry every single game in the Season 11, and I'm not trolling, I'm being legit, so listen up. Now, we're going to be watching 3 games of ShowMaker on Anivia and pointing out everything he does that you have to start doing. I also want all of you to thank one of my students for helping me gain access to ShowMaker streams in 1080p because, well, I don't speak Chinese nor read it, and we wouldn't be here without him. So thank you, Kev, in the comments. While you're in there, also let me know what you're most looking forward to in the new season. Is it a champion change, an item change? Maybe it's even the pin feature in the new shop, which is nice. Now, before we get into it, if you love this type of content and want it on another level, then our website GameLeap.com is a must visit. Hundreds of challenger courses and guides that will help you peak. Links, as always, in the description and comment section. Alright, let's get into the action. Now, the first tip you have to start applying in your games is patience is a W. When you're laning as Anivia, and any champion for that matter, have patience when choosing to use your key ability. If you watch ShowMaker in this clip, and this is against Knights, another top mid laner, how many times does he use his Q? Spoiler alert, only a couple of times. And he doesn't use it once while he's level 2. So what's the benefit of holding onto it? Well, your Q is your best form of offense early game, sure, but it's also your best form of defense, and into champions like Lucian, Zed, Fizz, without it you become vulnerable. Now, it's not just for Anivia. Think of any mage or any champion for that matter in the game. They all have a key ability that acts as self-peel. Xerath, for example, has his E, Yasuo has his Wind Wall, Katarina has her Shampoo, and so on. These are the big fellas, and when they are on cooldown, these champions are significantly weaker. Now, in this particular matchup, if ShowMaker uses his Q too liberally, Knights can sidestep it with his dash and dish out a lot of damage in return. Even when Knights actually runs up and auto-attack ShowMaker here, Knights doesn't dash and ShowMaker doesn't throw out his Flash Frost because Knights can evade it and potentially kill him. If we flip the situation and think about the Lucian, how many times has he used his dash so far? 0. In fact, he doesn't use it until level 4, and that's to evade ShowMaker's threat. This goes to show guys how important patience is and holding onto that key ability. Now, the other benefit of holding onto it is that you create pressure. Again, this goes for any champion with their key ability. In your games, I want you to start thinking of your 1v1 as a battle of patience. Who is going to break first? Because hey, whoever does will be wishing they had watched this video, I know that much. Now, by saving that ability like ShowMaker and Knights do, you save your threat. This is because without that ability, you pose no threat. The enemy laner is in no danger. It's as if you're boxing one another. You're trying to bait your opponent into going for that big blow, only for them to miss it, and you come back in with a haymaker. This is not just important for the 1v1, but also when a teammate ganks for you, or an enemy champion rocks up trying to take you down. In both situations, you have a greater chance of killing your opponent or surviving that gank by having that key ability available. Now, there are times when using your ability before your opponent uses theirs is good. So let me ask you, when do you think this would be? Now, I'll start with an obvious one, and you're going to see here. If a teammate locks down any champion on the other team, you have a guaranteed skill shot and damage to follow up with. Can you guys think of another situation? Well, when you're in close range of the enemy champion, you have a better chance of landing that all-important ability like ShowMaker does in this clip. If you look at this combo, notice how ShowMaker walks up before throwing out his Flash Frost. That's because he's shortening the distance his Q travels, meaning Yone has less time to react and dodge it, and he chunks him as a result. Now, if you were really paying attention to that clip, there's another reason ShowMaker's timing of his Q is perfect. Now, when I replay it, can you spot it? If I circle this melee minion, what is Yone's reasoning for moving closer to it? To last hitter, yeah? And this is the last reason you would want to throw your key ability out earlier than your enemy. You can even see ShowMaker's mouse hover over this minion, and though it means nothing, it tells us that he's aware that Yone wants this gold, so stands very close to that minion to give himself the best chance of hitting it. His Flash Frost, that is. Now, I will say this though, be very careful, and we've touched on this before, about doing this against champions who have mobility in their kit to avoid your Flash Frost. Let me play this clip again. Now, what ability did ShowMaker just throw at Knights? His Q. And this is his key ability, and watch what happens as a result. Knights is able to dodge that punch thrown by ShowMaker, and these guys wouldn't pack a mean punch IRL, let's be honest, but in game they certainly do. And Knights is then able to counter ShowMaker's first move. Because ShowMaker was more impatient, he loses. We'll get into how to use your ultimate to perfection later, but he can just keep his eye on top of Lucian and hold onto his Q. For the next few waves, he has to sit under tower, and Knights is actually up 15 to 20 CS because of this one mistake. It also puts your jungler in a bad spot because you can't really gank this Lucian. If the enemy jungler is anticipating that, it puts you in a really bad situation and you definitely lose the 2v2 and everything else after it. Fizz is another one you have to be careful of. You're better off saving your Q and whittling him down with a couple of other techniques we're about to get into. Moving on to the next essential tip you have to start applying, and this is number 2, auto attacks are everything. Now when you're playing any champion, when you are in auto attack range of your opponent, look to auto attack them. Now this may seem really elementary, but from the hundreds of students I've coached, some even in Grandmaster, Master and Diamond at actual high elo, very few of them are willing to harass their opposite number with auto attacks. It's all ability based. Now why is this so important? Because it's damage, and most of the time this is free when you're playing a ranged champion like ShowMaker is here, and you're up against a melee champion or a champion close range. Now in the early game in particular, your abilities have no real additional power, right? Because you have no items. It's only until you buy those major items when you can start one-shotting champions with your abilities alone, so auto-attacking becomes more essential early on, and if you want to be as good as these guys, you have to start doing it. So in this clip, I want you to count how many times ShowMaker auto-attacks Yone. That's 1, that's 2, and he even procs electrocute as well, more damage. And how did he do that? By auto-attacking. Are you guys starting to get it? Now a few seconds later, sorry for sounding maybe condescending there, I didn't mean to. So a few seconds later he combos Yone, and in between his Q and E he sneaks in an auto, and after his E as well. These two autos counted for almost 100 damage in that sequence, and look at Yone's health. Now with another bar of HP in there, he would be on 400 HP and not 300, and it may sound unimportant, but every little helps and matters. We touched on it before as well. What happens if you're against a Fizz or a Zed and you don't want to use your abilities because it gives them a window to all in you? How do you do any damage to them? Well, through auto attacks, correct. So in your games, I want you to count how many times you auto attack your opponent and compare it against the number of times you should have autoed your opponent. It's also imperative to auto-attack the enemy champions because these apply and activate effects. For example, in all of these clips, ShowMaker is running Taste of Blood in his runes, and the healing works off your auto-attacks, so you want to be taking every opportunity you can to regain some missing health. If you start Corrupting Potion as well, same idea. You can apply the burn through auto-attacks, and if you are lucky enough to gain a red buff after the enemy jungler runs it down, it only means something when you use it by auto-attacking. Otherwise, if you're not going to use it, just give it back to them, be a nice guy. Now let's watch these 4 clips so I know you've caught my drift. Now you would have seen this clip earlier, but let's analyze it here. Look at how important ShowMaker's auto attacks are. First of all, they proc electrocute, so more damage, and because Knights is now half health and ShowMaker is running Ignite, if he lands his Q, he can kill the Lucian. If he didn't auto attack, then this kill potential does not exist. Against Yone in this clip, ShowMaker auto attacks 5 times in the space of 10 seconds. This equates to almost 200 damage, and guess what happens when his wave crashes? He ends up killing him, all because he maximized his DPS by auto attacking as well as using his abilities. Now when ShowMaker flashes here, it looks pretty red hot. How many of you would not have trusted yourselves to kill Lucian? It's alright if you wouldn't have, but now you can make this play because you know how valuable auto attacking is. Can he kill him without auto-attacking? Sure, he has Ignite and his E is almost back up, but the point here is that if he didn't have these 2 cooldowns, he can still kill Knights by auto-attacking. In this last clip, okay, the Q is kind of troll from both Anivia and Thresh, but ShowMaker throws out 3 auto attacks, 2 of them help proc electrocute, and he's able to expedite the process of killing Ziggs because he isn't just ability Anivia, he is ability and auto attack Anivia. Before we get into the last tip you must know about, guys, friendly reminder to take advantage of the massive $50 sale we currently have on our lifetime plans over at GameLeap.com. If you haven't got a present for your dad yet, or if you actually want to become the GOAT on Summoner's Rift, then do not miss out and check it out at the end of this video. Links will be down below. So the third and final tip you have to start using in your games is turning up the storm. Now when you hit level 6 on Anivia, always look to use your Glacial Storm to engage your opponent. Now the reason why it's always better to start your combo or fight off with your ultimate is because of the slow. It makes the rest of your abilities easy to synergize. If you lead with your Q, we've already established that it's mostly dangerous because you let your guard down. Leading with your E, well, there's no setup there of course, and leading with your wall is certainly an option, but it's better to time your crystallize with your Glacial Storm. The slow from your ultimate allows you to move up and place a more optimal wall, and your goal is to trap your opponent in that blue circle. Now the range on your ultimate is 750, and I'd recommend using normal cast or smart cast with indicators so you know the distance, so whenever the enemy mid laner starts trying their luck, or any other champion for that matter, set up your Glacial Storm at their feet and have patience here too. So what we're really doing is mixing a couple of tips together here. See in these clips how ShowMaker doesn't just throw out his Q and E as soon as Glacial Storm forms? So you want to be using your Q in the same way with your ultimate as you were using it before level 6 with patience, and it's important to wait for your ultimate to fully form after 1.5 seconds because your E deals double the damage. So if you throw out your Frostbite before the storm has fully enlarged, it won't hurt as much. Even in this last clip, ShowMaker doesn't throw out his Q because he doesn't need to. His ultimate is fully formed and his frostbite is enough to detonate Lucian. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to let us know by leaving a like and subscribe down below and turn on all notifications. Apply these 3 huge tips in your games and you will win until the cows come home. This has been Coach Eagz, and until next time, peace.